Hello everyone, welcome to Van Kelly Woodcarving. This is my first live stream and we're looking forward to your questions today. And we're just going to sit back and enjoy this afternoon. Thank you for joining us today. And we're just looking forward to hearing your questions and comments, and may try to give a few demonstrations here after a while. So we're just glad that you tuned in with us today. So we're going to be looking forward to making more videos in the coming future on different things that people have suggested on the YouTube channel, and so we're going to try to accommodate those the best we can. And so we can't do them all, but we'll try to pick out the ones that really stand out. So, but we're just looking forward to it. And again, thank you for joining us today. I want to remind you that we have a 17th annual wood carving seminar here at Norwood, Missouri in August the 10th, 11th, and 12th of this year. And we've got instructors Roger Stiegel from Arkansas, and we've got Joe Land from Ozark, Missouri, Chris Rogers from around Kansas City area, and Jimmy Marler also will be with us, who will be teaching drawing and painting techniques for those of you that are non-carvers. And also we've got other instructors coming, but that will be August 10th, 11th, and 12th. And if you want to find out more information, go to the Hill and Holler Wood Carving Facebook page, and we update that quite often of events coming up that you might be interested in. So if you're going to be in South Central Missouri around August 10th, 11th, and 12th, we'd love to have you. So, and so anyway. And we're looking here at Gary Robertson. It says, howdy from Texas. Hello, Gary. Nice to see you today, or hear from you today. And hopefully, I probably won't get everybody, but so we're just looking forward to being with you all. Hi, Janice. Good to see you, or good to hear from you today. Glad to be here. Glad that you're here. Glad that you're here also. So I'm going to try to read the questions best I can and comments today. And so we have Michael. Hello from Boston. Wow. Thank you, Michael. Hello to you. And S Champion. Let's see. How you doing, Van? From, I can't hardly read that. Canada. Oh, okay. Yes, it might help get some glasses on. There you are. Yes, Canada. Welcome. Thank you. Very good. All right. So if you guys have any questions or anything, and some, we're going to probably do a little demonstration for you here later on this afternoon. And so, again, we're just glad that you all came in. So we're going to see how this goes today, this first live stream, and we're looking forward to it. So I tell you what, while we're waiting for some questions and things or comments, let's do a little carving. What do you say? And that's what you've come. You didn't want to hear me blabber on, but I think if we're going to let's do an eye. It seems like I have a lot of comments and suggestions about doing eyes. And so the eyes and the mouth are the most important part of the anatomy of the face. And so we're going to try that this afternoon and just give you a relaxed eye. And so we're going to start here again. If you've watched before on YouTube channel with me, we always start with a swooping cut. And again, this is like a natural, a normal 90-degree angle that we have here. And so we're working from that particular angle right here. And we're going to come in here with our eye planes, and that way we make sure we have all this in. Then we're going to come right down here and put our rocking cut for the tip of the nose. And then I think too that I'm going to turn my tool caddy here where I can get to my U-gouge, but we're going to come in here now with a U-gouge and come straight in and create the eye planes. Now, some of you talked about getting the right proportion of the eyes. Some of your eyes goes up or down, and so I'm going to try to show you a little technique that had helped me making sure that my eyes are even across, not going up or down. And so we'll show you that here in just a little bit. Taking our knife here and creating that the forehead area. And also too, well, let's look at some questions here while we're making a face here. we have here from Jude from Ann Arbor, Michigan. Hi, Jude. Good to see you today. Thank you for joining us. John Horton, I've seen you comment quite a few times. You've said here, please explain about using a V-tool or a U-gouge for more than it was made for. I understand not using a small one, but to make a bigger one. Well, on the V-tool and the gouges here, just like with, let me give you an example. This soft V here, I hope you can see that on the camera pretty well, but it's a more softened feature instead of a regular V. And I use this soft V for wrinkles. I use that for lips. I use that to put in different things on the body, or a hat, or anything, or even removing a lot of real estate on a particular carving. And a U-gouge, you know, you can use that for texturing trees. You can use that for texturing also clothing, and also soften features on the face and things like that there. And let's see here. Also, we've got Gary from Robertson. You said you've been following me since you started this channel. Thank you, Gary. I appreciate that very much. Misty, hello from Canada. Thank you for joining us. David, you say here, appreciate your work. What do you recommend for start carving? How about kids? Starter carvings. Well, I tell you about kids, it's a good thing. Is called soap carving. Use ivory soap is probably about the best thing. It's more dense and more consistent. And using popsicle sticks and shaping them as a knife. And also clay is a good way to get children started in using, molding, and shaping things. But soap carving is a great way for children to get started, and that way when they're using those tongue depressors or those popsicle sticks that you have, then that way they're learning control, and you can show them how to push and cut and the paring cut. And so just shape that popsicle in the knife shape of it as a knife blade, and that'll be a great way to get kids started. That and clay. And you can pick those up at your local Hobby Lobbies or Michael's or wherever you shop at for your carving or your craft supplies. All right, let's look at some more here. David, thanks so much. Appreciate your work. Oh, that was about the clay there and the soap carving talked about. Leon Williams from Fort Worth, thank you for joining us today. Also, Janice Cox. Wow to you too. All right, thank you. Hi, Linda from California. Good that you're with us today. And Dennis, good to hear from you. Thank you. Appreciate that so much. And Buck, I think that says Buck Beans. Is that right? Yeah, Buck Beans 1. What is the smallest space can you carve with hand tools without going to power? Okay, well, I'll tell you what. I just so happened to brought one today. This is the little guy. It's about 2.5 inches tall. And I'm going to get him up pretty close because he's pretty small. And you can, I used one knife on this guy, and it was this knife right here I've had for 20 some years. You can see I have worn this guy out over the years, and even wore off the man who made the name. His name was Ron Wells at the time, and wore off his initials there. But that's the smallest carving I think I've done. And that's out of one piece of wood. Now I just glued his base on, that way he'd have something to stand on. But yeah, so this is probably the smallest carving I've ever done, and he's probably a 1/2 inch wide, maybe less than that. So yes, that's about the smallest I've went. So into power carving, I haven't done too much of it because I don't have a way of getting rid of the dust and things like that there, like you may have. But the dust can be very, very toxic to your lungs and things like that. So always be careful about using power carving. Make sure you have an exhaust fan or some type of a filtering system. So, all right. If I repeat this, please forgive me. So, Chester Russell, I believe. Thank you from watching from Ecuador. Wow. Thank you, Chester. Hi, Glenn from Quebec. Good to have you today. Thank you, Stacy. Appreciate that. Janice, hi Janice, appreciate you, seen your comments a few times on Facebook. Thank you for that. And what do I think about beaver craft knife? I do believe they're made over in Ukraine. I do believe I've heard good things about it. I think there's a recommend channel. I can't think of the young man, Alex Lacrosse, I believe. He's from up north somewhere, but he did a complete tutorial on that, and so you might check that out and see what his thoughts are. But I personally, I don't have one of the Beavercraft tools, but I hear there are good beginners, good starting kit for someone that's just getting into carving. We've got here, hello from, I'm sorry, from Michigan, the Peninsula of Michigan, all right. I'm sorry, folks, my eyes are not too good here on the screen. It's Alex Lacrosse. All right, thank you, Dan, appreciate it. Yes, he's done some reviews and on Beavercraft tools there, so just check them out and look for reviews. I would get on Facebook and belong to different carving groups and put a question into these Facebook pages and ask these questions too. Someone may have experienced with those type of tools. So, hi Julie, thank you, appreciate that. Well, we've had a good response here so far, and we're looking forward to hearing from more of you down the road. And if you like this type of thing, maybe we can continue to do this here in the future. And so anyway, so we'll wait for some more questions to come in, and please be patient with me. I'm not very good with the camera here, but we're going to have fun anyway. So, and so now we're to the point here we're going to put our smile lines in, and coming in here and putting our smile lines in. Putting a stop cut right here to create the wing of the nose. And again, remember the 3 planes of the mouth. That's very important. Harold Enlow, one time I was taking a class from him, and I asked him why. I took a carving to him and had him to review it. And he says, well, I tell you one thing you need to work with. Make sure that you get 3 planes for the mouth. Because if you don't get these 3 planes, your mouth is going to look flat. And so always make sure that you have those 3 planes, because the teeth is what shapes our mouth and gives us that great expressions. And even those who don't have the teeth in their mouth, they have an expression also. And so now we're going to take a little 3mm and just extend that up just a little bit more here and really deepen that there. And come in here and create this eye area better. And again, carving is a lot of fun. It's relaxing. I told a guy the other day that whatever's bothering me is on the floor. And whatever stressful day you're having, why, go to the bench, because a day carving is a day well spent. All right, so we're going to split his forehead here. And I got a couple of guys coming from Arkansas up to the shop here to take a class from me on the 12th and 13th of May. And I've got one guy that's coming from within Missouri here to take a class from me at the shop on the 26th. And so we have classes throughout the year. And so if you would like to come to Missouri and have a class with me, well, I'd love to have you and see some of you face to face instead of just on the comments on Facebook. Okay, so let's see here. How far have we gotten here? Said my camera is a little out of focus. Okay, Stacy, we'll try to correct that there. Says, thanks for having the patience to do all these videos. It's so helpful. Well, thank you again, Chester. I appreciate that. Would a 9-inch inexpensive bandsaw work okay for cutting out patterns? Probably would only cut basswood. I've got a friend who has a tabletop bandsaw, and he just loves it. And it's about a 9 to 10 inch. So yes, and he cuts out his bandsaw blanks. And I would say, as long as your blade's good and sharp, why, it ought to do just fine. So that would be just fine, absolutely. When I first started carving, I didn't have a bandsaw. I had a coping saw, and I could not cut that thing. It just went everywhere, and it took me a while to get used to that. But when I was about 15 or 16, my folks got me a bandsaw, and I still use it today, and I've never looked back. So I love a bandsaw. The bandsaw is very great about getting us to the fun part of carving. All right, so here we are. Now we're going to take a V tool here and create the upper lip. And so again, there's thousands of expressions out here, and don't be afraid to. And another thing too, I like doing. Harold Enlow, he used to do these, but he would carve faces in tools. And I've got another one here. I did a 2-tier one, and these are a lot of fun. Now I soaked these a little bit, like the night before, in a little bit of alcohol or water, and that carves a lot better. I don't know what type of wood this stuff is, but I always enjoyed seeing these expressions on the tools, and you know, they're unique. There's not one out there like it, as far as that there. And I don't know, there's just all kinds of expressions you can try. There's a guy showing his teeth, you know, there. And I've got one more, I think, here I'll show you. I think this guy here has got a mustache that's going up, and then it's going down and all that. So yeah. So also too, just if you're thinking about somebody giving a gift that's a wood carver, carve a face in it and give that tool to that friend of yours who's a wood carver. And I think here's one, yeah, of a guy. He's kind of a sleepy guy or happy guy. He's got a mustache there on him. And so anyway, just come up with different expressions. It's just so neat to take a blank piece of wood and just bring it to life. All right, let's see who else we've got here. At the end of your carving cuts, you flick the chip out sideways, making it pop sound. Isn't that bad for the tip of the blade? Yeah, it could be. You know, depends on the strength of your blade. And you know, and again, you know, I've had people and myself, if you get in there and you start to prying, that's what really will make the tip of that blade pop off, and you'll have to reground that tip back. And so I've done that for different carvers, put their tip back on. But yeah, you know, it's it can happen, you know, but I don't see a big problem with it. So, but it can happen. Anything can happen to a tool. So. What is the rule of thumb for carving the width of eyes as related to the width of the nose? Well, here we're getting to that point here. I want to show you how we can keep our eye placement. And what I do, and here in the camera, I usually put a dot with my pencil, because the deepest part of your eye is right there next to the tear duct and the bridge of the nose. And so I don't know if you can see those dots there that I put in the camera. There it is, a little bit there. And so that's a starting point to creating the eye area. And then I come out just a little far, or a little inward, before I get to the edge of the eye here, and I put a dot right there. And so that's going to be the width of our eye. And again, just try to if you want to take a little ruler and measure from here to there, that's fine. And then mark it with your ruler there, and bring your ruler over here and do the same thing there. And so that gives you the width of your eye. And so every time you draw in your your eye mound, you'll have the same width of an eye. Okay, let's take our pencil and carve that up through there. Pencil that in. All right, then we're going to take a V-tool, and we're going to come in and do the top lid, and make sure your tools are in good shape before you sit down and carve. That's always a good thing. And doing both lids. Learn to turn your wood to get the best cut you can. All right, so now this eye here is going to be a little smaller than this one here, so he's almost kind of a sleepy eye look, and so that's fine. And so we're going to come in and take our knife and make the stop cuts, our 3 cuts that we have here. And also too, we're thinking about trying to do some classes online down the road. So if you're interested in that too, leave us a comment for that. If you couldn't come to a class, well, maybe we can do one online with us down the road. All right, let's do this side over here. 3 cuts over here. All right, very good. right, let's see what else questions we have here while we're giving this guy a break. What is the trick to carving female faces? We're going to be doing a video on that here before long. To do that is taking smaller cuts, not as bold cuts on the female face, because the face of the female is more thinner, the lips are thinner, the nose is smaller, the eye placement is smaller, and so but the key to that is not taking really big bold cuts, taking small cuts and making that face as smooth as possible, especially for a woman. Now, if you're doing a hillbilly woman, you can make her a little rough looking if you like, or a pioneer woman, whatever. But general rule for a female face, more realistic face, is taking more smaller cuts and on the female face. Hi, Bruce. Good to see you. The width of the nose is equal to the width of the eye. All right, the width of the eye is usually the 5 eyes wide. Yes, that's true. Absolutely, that's a good way of putting it too. And so, whatever you find a good way of putting your eyes in that's comfortable to you, why, stick with it. And same thing with learning to sharpening tools and anything like that there. If you find a way of doing it very well, why, please hang in there. Because I know a lot of people, they'll jump all over the place of trying this and trying that, but when you find something that you're pleased with, why, hang in there with it and stick with it, all right? Okay, so now we're cleaning up this area here, and we're going to put in the eyebrows. And again, don't go any deeper than what your tool's for. Again, folks, I don't care how long you've been carving, you're still learning, you're still processing things. And again, take as many classes as you can, and get it, just get out there and don't be afraid of letting people look at your work, because that's what helps you become a better carver. And yeah, don't be mean about it when you're making comments about people's work. We're all still learning, but good critiquing is a wonderful thing. That's what I wanted from Harold N. Lowe or Mike Shipley, any of those guys. I wanted their input, because I wanted to become a good carver, and I know you all do too. And so make sure that you just get some advice from those that you look up to in the carving world, and don't be afraid to ask questions. And we may not answer everything just right, but at least we're going to give it a try today, all right? All right, now let's do the bottom lip. Again, as I said, the bottom lip is important also, but the thing is the mouth has a lot to do with the expressions of your face. And so we're going to put a cut right there in the center of the nose, okay? And then we're going to come right on around and meet the top lip there. And we're going to soften our facial features some here. Remember, there's no sharp edges on the human face. Try to soften it as much as you can, unless you're really doing like a really ugly cowboy or a hillbilly or something like that, or a character like that. Why, just get right in there and make him as rough as possible. The rougher a cowboy looks, I think the better he looks. All right, so now we put a stop cut in between the upper and the lower lips. And we're going to come in here and we're going to open up that mouth. Now again, you don't have to, but I think it's good to give your carving as much expression as you possibly can to bring that fella or that girl to life. And again, I would encourage you, first-time carvers, do not get discouraged by what you're not seeing. It will come. With time. And so again, just keep at it. And it's like I've said before, it's always too soon to quit. And so it's important too that you just keep on keeping on here and learning all you can. Like I said, from different people, you can learn things not to do as much as you can from others of doing the right things. So again, we're just putting in expressions there with using our soft V there to give him more aged look. And so yeah, so there's kind of a neat little face there. And I would suggest that you just go right on down through here. Use every corner of your stick of wood that you possibly can to make as many faces you can. Make ears, make mouths, open the mouth. You know, maybe having the tongue hanging out. I know we got a video coming out with the tongue hanging out of the mouth. And so again, just give your carving as much expression as you possibly can. All right, let's continue to look here at some of the other comments. John, again, what would be a good practice carve to help with symmetry? Well, again, faces is a good way. Eyes, and also learning the placement where your ears line up with the top of the eyebrow, the bottom lobe with the bottom of your nose. Yeah, everything's in threes on our faces, so that's a good way to practice things. And remember, everything is in threes, all right? And so it just helps you from the ears to the jaw, and you know, from the arm to the elbow to the hand, so on and so forth. Yes, again, like I said, we're going to be working on getting a female. We're going to probably do more than just one. We're going to do probably a more natural look on a woman, and then also do another carving of a hill woman that's been in the hills a long time, and like a pioneer type woman. So yes, we're going to be doing those, and down the road. So we're looking forward to it. And again, you know, carving expressions, I think sometimes it depends on what mood you're in. I've carved some pretty solemn looking faces if I've had a pretty tough day at work or whatever, you know. But again, I think that at the end of the day, if you can make your carvings smile, your carvings will just do better. And also, if you happen to sell your carvings, smiling carving will outsell, and that's been proven many times that it will outdo anything that's not smiling. So, all right, and so too. Remind you, if you're ever out in Colorado Springs around the latter part of September, the Character Carvers of America are having their second annual showcase out there. And boy, if you're in the Colorado area, why, you need to go out there and look it up online, the cca.org, and that's another good resource and place. They have classes. You probably have to sign up pretty quick. I'm sure they go very fast. But also there'll be all the CCA people out there if you follow Character Carvers of America, as I do. But just get in there and if you can, pencil that out in your calendar and go. So, all right. So again, we're just like I said, this is our first live stream, and we're learning as we're going. But let's do another expression here while we've got time. And so again, we're going to come in here and make a few cuts, and to create an area here for another face. And I'll tell you what we're going to do. Let's do a small face, and let's come in here with our cuts here with our facial planes. And it says, we got a question here. It says, what's with that size of carving, what size of tools do you use? All right, this soft V here is a 3/16. For the bridge of the nose to create that's a 3mm. That's a dockyard tool, and they have different sizes of tools, different sweeps, and different things like that, from V tools, all that. And then of course this is just a little 1/4 inch, or about a 1/4 inch V tool that I use for this type of size of carving here. And so that's about the basic tools that I use for this particular face is there here. So how do you decide the price of your carvings? Do you use a standard formula, or based on the price of how much you like it? Okay, that's a good question, because I do sell quite a bit of carvings at Silver City. That's the 1880s theme park down in Branson, Missouri. If you're doing large stuff, what we do, like Indians or cowboys, if you're doing 4 or 5 foot stuff, and I know some of you may, used to be $100 a foot for, you know, to get at least a good start. So you got to think about your time. I really don't think you can, your painting, is really you can put that to an hourly part as far as painting. But carving, it just depends. Some people charge $20, an hour to work on a piece. Some others depends on what size also. If you're going from a rough out, you got to think about what that rough out cost you. So there's a lot to think about that. And then if you're just doing it from a bandsaw blank, those are, you're doing it yourself. And so again, it depends on the size of your project. They go from, I've seen carvings from $150, especially like a 9 to 10 inch piece. They can go from 125 up to 250. It depends on how much detail, on how many hours they put in it. So you'll have to come up with that figure on how many hours you put into it and what's worth your time. Really, you got to just think about that. Really, what's really worth my time. All right. Okay. Yes. Michael says here he's been trying to find a soft V tool for 3 months. OCC Tools is transitioning to a new owner, and they are impossible to find. Okay. Are there any other makers of soft V tools? I don't know about the makers, but you might check out Treeline. That's out in Utah. Also Mountain Woodcarvers out in Colorado. That's another Mountain Woodcarvers. That's another good resource. And I did have I didn't bring it with me today. The address who bought OCC Tools, his brand and his style of tools, his V tools, U gouges, things like that. So maybe I can find that and put that in our comments later on. But yeah, it's I think the first soft V was brought out by a carver out in New York named Ortel, O-R-T-E-L or L. And they've been just a really neat tool. But also too, look on eBay. I seen some there the other day for sale. The 5/8. I think this here is the 5/8 one here. Yes, and this one here. And so I've seen the long handle ones too that they had for sale. And so again, I really don't know off the top of my head. Those are a couple of places I can think of that might be able to help you find that V tool. All right. Yes, and I want to say something about OCC Tools. Mike and Sherry Shipley, we don't live very far from one another, and I took over Mike's business back in 2012 as far as the rough outs, and then I've come up with my own rough outs, and so we kind of commingled our rough outs together. Also, too, they are going to be making just 6 knives, bench knives. They're sticking with their original Ron Wells type style knife. And so, again, I don't know about their website, if it's up and going just yet. I know they have someone that does that for them. So, again, just keep watching their website for if you're looking for a good quality knife. And again, some of you say, well, what's a good knife? Anything that's really good and sharp, that's a good knife any day. OCC makes great knives. Drake makes good knives. Deep Holler knives. Of course, Helvey, if you can get one, Be careful, too, on eBay when you're buying some of these knives, especially the Helvey brand. Some of them are very, very expensive. And again, you don't have to have the most expensive knife out there to do a good job. Make sure your knife that you've got is sharp. And that's important. And it doesn't matter what the brand name is as long as it's good and sharp and that you take care of it. You take care of that tool, it'll last you years. Just like this little tool here. This was the width, the length of this tool at one time here. And you can see I've sharpened that over the years. And now I use that knife there, particularly for eyes and just fine detailing work. Because again, that blade is very thin and I don't want to break it off. But again, I've had this knife here for 20 some years, and that's been a good knife. It's been a good little workhorse. Edgar here, he says, I got a hard time working in eyes. Again, Edgar, I'm just tell you this about eyes. If you're like me, one day it just hit me out of the blue. I kept working on them and working on them and working on them. I just took my scrap piece of wood and I would just go down through here and I'd make eye after eye after eye after eye. I would do a sleepy eye, I would do a smiling eye, I would do an open eye. I just kept doing it. And then I actually took it to I thought, well, okay, I'm beginning to like what I'm seeing. So then I put it actually to a cutout of a person or of a character or a rough out, and it's everyone. It's just a little different. But again, it's patience. I know it's hard to at times, but also too, make sure your tools are very sharp. That's where a lot of people get discouraged about carving, whether it's eyes or anything, if your tools are not in good shape. But keep at it. Keep at it. And again, if you can, find some local wood carving groups in your area, like clubs and organizations like that there. They'd be love to have you to come. We've got one here at Norwood that we meet twice a month, and we have an open Saturday on the last Saturday of every month. And so we have people come in and say, hey, I'm just having trouble with an eye. Can you help me? And so this is why I'm doing these videos, is because I felt, I went through that struggle. I went through that time of kind of a valley of like, man, I just want to quit. I'm not seeing the results I would like to see. And here's another thing too, for those of you that are carving out there, don't compare yourself with other carvers. You come up with your style of carving eventually. You may take Dave Stetson's class, you may take, different ones out here, but eventually you're going to have to come up with your style of carving that makes you happy and that you're satisfied with the results that you are trying to achieve. All right, let's look at some other questions here. Will you be doing any videos on adding ears to a carving? Yes, Jim, we sure will. And we'll be doing more of that as we progress, because we've only been doing this since January. And so I've got things lined up that I'd like to try to do. And in the fall too, we're going to jump off from character carving to going to doing some relief type carving, because when I was about 15 or 16, I did both. I fluctuated back and forth, and I still do that. I enjoy relief carving. And we're going to be doing a cabin, a log cabin with some smoke coming out of it, with a nice tree beside it. And we're going to also teach you how to lay out signage for your home if you'd like to put your name or welcome friends or the Smiths or whatever. So we'll be doing that in the fall and maybe in the wintertime here coming up before long. Fall will be here before we know it. Maybe I've read this one. Andrea, I believe you're saying here, any suggestions on the 3/16 soft V? OCC doesn't appear to make them anymore. Yes, they no longer making any of the V tools or the U gouges. They're staying strictly with just the bench knives. And so I would try, again, Mountain Wood Carvers out in Colorado. I would try Tree Line and deep holler knives. I don't know if they're going into V tools or U gouges yet. They may be, I don't know. But try at least those two resources there, and I'm sure there's others out there that I'm not thinking of right now. But if I do think of some of other places that might be handling these tools, I'll definitely put it in the description on our upcoming videos. Okay. Thank you, S. Chapman. Thanks. He says here, this is worth taking the day off. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. I hope you have a job when you go back. So, but that's another thing, talking about when you're at your job place. When you're at your lunchtime, whether it's, however long you take for lunch, take a few minutes to take your bag of carvings with you to work. And during one of your breaks, carve for 5, 10, 15 minutes. And you've got to carve every day if you're going to be a good carver. That's just the way it is. You just can't carve once a year or every 4 years and expect good results. Just like anything out here, playing an instrument, playing sports or whatever it is, or even exercising, sometimes we try to bite off too much at one time. We've got to take it a little by little by little. And again, all this is a stick of wood. Have fun with it. Come up with your own expressions, your own style of carving. And yes, take as many classes as you can. And go places where other people are carving, like wood carving clubs, or, I taught at a local library one time for a couple of weekends one time years ago. And also to look at your technical colleges too. Sometimes they offer carving classes, and so there's places out there where you can take classes. And two, there wasn't a carving club in our area. I usually had to go to Branson if I wanted any tools or resources. And one day I was talking to Mike Shipley. I said, Mike, I said, I would like for us to start a wood carving seminar here at Norwood. And so here we are at our 17th annual one. And Mike was very instrumental in getting us in the help there, and Harold Enlow and John Engler and Steve Brown and Roger Stiegel and all these great guys. And and Debbie. Oh goodness, she's the wildlife carver. I can't think of her last name. Forgive me, Debbie. But anyway, she's a wonderful lady. It was very helpful in helping us getting started there also. I like my file V-tools. They seem to be available all the time. Yes, Woodcraft. I've got quite a few files. They're made in Swiss, in Switzerland. And also Stubai is another great company that Chris Willock, also Chris Willock will be with us at Norwood in August too. He'll be teaching wood spirit carving, and also he'll have his tool store there and his store on wheels, the wood carving shack, or woodling shack, or one of those two names. But he'll be with us. But yes, the File brand is a very good brand, and the hardness of the steel is good. Stubai is another good one, and Charles, thank you. Brooks, yes, my friend. Standler Carvings in Ohio might have those soft V's. Yes, Charlie, thank you for pulling my feet out of the fire there, my friend. Yes, that's a good place to get neat stuff there. They have a great access to a lot of wood and books and tools and tool totes and things like that there. And so yes, so this is well, yes, Mr. Linker, thank you for joining us. My goodness, Doug, welcome. Thank you for giving me a shout out a while back. That was just very special. That just touched my heart. And yes, Blake, he apologized many times. They on the International Association of Wood Carvers, they did not record our episode, so he told me he would invite me back, and we're looking forward to being a part of that again. So yes, we're just having fun. I tell you, listen, folks, I tell you, I'm not doing this to become famous. No way in the world. I've been in my life. I've been in a lot of limelight, and I've met a lot of neat people and famous people. But I'm not looking to make a name for myself here. I just enjoy what I do and enjoy what I've learned, and I want to share it with you. And hopefully that you will be a better carver, and a carver that will be able to pass it on to his family and other friends and neighbors and things like that there. All right. All right. So let's get back here. We'll wait for some more questions to come up today, and we're going to use our 3mm U-gouge on both sides of the nose here, and to create that bridge of the nose. And again, you know, you can make your smile lines come down or curve them in, just however, just let it go. You know, don't get hung up on, oh, I've got to do it this way or I've got to do it that way. Just let the wood kind of dictate where you're going to be doing, you know, and just have fun. So we're taking our knife here and moving right up to our stop cut right here by the wing of the nose. And all we're here for is to encourage one another, all of us carvers. And like I said a while ago, I'm not looking to be whatever out here. I just enjoy what I do, and I hope that you do too. Because wood carvers are about the best people I know, and very willing to share information. Now, I've met a few folks who weren't very friendly, but you know, those are very far and in between. But again, we're here just to learn from each other, and I learn every day when I carve something new. And sometimes when I think that I've made a mistake, sometimes it is the best mistake that I've made, because it's created me a different expression and a different outlook on things here. All right, so we're going to create here he's going to have an expression here a little bit, got one eye plane higher than the other, and that's all right. And so Watts, all right, next it says big fan of Stubai tools. Yes, sir, I agree with you totally. I like them. You know, again, stay away from cheap made tools, because you get what you pay for. And stay with good quality brand tools, whether they're American made. I know FlexCut makes great tools too, but also just stick with whatever good brand that holds the edge. and that will last you a lifetime. That way you can pass it on to your kids and grandkids or whatever. I think that's what we're missing in America today, is we're not doing more hand stuff. We're too busy on the technology of things, and we're missing out on bringing back handcrafted items. So that's why I believe Soda City down here in Branson, Missouri has been very good about that, preserving the native craftsmen, and whether it's basket makers or pottery or wood carving or blacksmithing, it's important to keep these traditions alive that made America. Alright, so now we're putting our 3 cuts in, and again, I'm just kind of doing a normal eye, and again, make sure your tool's good and sharp. I'm making that cut on top of that eyeball to sink that eyeball back in there and to give it more depth and more realism. And again, when you're working on your carving, work all over. Don't get stuck in one area, because you can take off more than in one area than you need to. So work all over your carving. Again, as I've said before, it gives it uniformity. Now, show you some of my little pieces here. This is a study stick that I did a while back. Hope you can see it, but just take your 1x1s and just create. This was just all done with my tools. No cutout with a bandsaw. This started with like this here at the end of the stick, and I just taking my time carving an expression. Then I'll come down here and carve an expression here. And then I've got one over here, you know, got one kind of like a fat nose or whatever. And then here's another one I did a while back. He's got a tie and a collar. And again, you know, anytime you're getting ready to fit a hat on a guy, make sure the temples are taken in. All right, that helps fit the head into the hat. And so that helps with getting that head to fit into that hat. And 2, when you're working on a hat like this here, make sure that you work on this hat toward the last, because this little guy right here, if I can get him, this was him at one time. Well, one time I was carving late at night, and my thumb slipped and took most of his hat off, and I thought, oh man, all that work, you know, and I'm sure you've been there. And if not, you will be. You'll have your accidents like that, happy accidents like that. But this turned out to be one of the neatest little pieces I like. And so I had carved this smiling face on here. And I thought, what am I going to do with this hat that I broke off? I'm thinking, hey, let's just make him into a stocking cap. And so he kind of looks like an elf in a way, but this is a hillbilly guy. And I just shaved off the rest of the brim that was left on that hat. And I shaved the rest of the brim off and took the stovetop hat and made it into a stocking hat. And again, don't throw these pieces away. Keep them, set them aside, come back to them some other day. And don't be pitching them in the fire, all right? Unless you're cold or something. But anyway, just this here is what I call an accident that turned out to be a good accident in the carving realm. And so anyway, that's just a few pieces like this here. Now I'm starting a piece here for a future video. This is Willie, he's on the website, and I'm giving him a little toothy grin there, as you can see. But this is what a rough out looks like. What I do, to give you a little, if we got a few minutes left here, about 20 minutes or so, but what I do is I just sketch out, and again, I'm not a drawer, but I use, you know, graph paper to get my measurements, and I just pencil out a figure and I just tweak it. And then I take that and transfer it to the wood. I cut it out. I cut in the features, the main features, the face area. I don't do the detailing of the face. And then I put, you know, whether I'm carving a hand out here, I'll carve a hand, not detailed, just the roughness of the features. And then I slap glue all over. I put about 4 or 5 coats of glue. And then I ship it off to my guy down at Reed Springs, Missouri, that does my rough outs for me. And he will duplicate these. Then what he'll do, he'll put a stop here and his chucks here, and that way he puts it in the machine. And this master here will turn out 48 other different pieces of the exact same thing, and that's what they call a rough. And so when I get it back, this is what's called a rough out. And so it's just the basic features. The nose, you can see the hand placement here a little bit. You can see his toes and beard and things like that there. And this thickness right in here, that's where he had to add a piece of wood to where his chuck could fit in there and have some stability. And so I get these back from him, or I go down and get them from him, and then we sell these online or at the shop. All right, let's take some questions. I see it moving. Doc here, excuse me, sorry Doc, in Paradise, Beavercraft is a great beginner tool. I will invest in more expensive tools when I'm sure I'll do it forever. Very good, all right, very good. What is the best way of getting unbiased feedback on your carving? Family members or friends tend to lean towards being kind and be honest. All right, I'll give you an example of that. When I first started carving, I had bought my first set of tools and a book, Harold Enlow's Carving Ozark Characters. And in that was a Missouri Mule. And I bought that cutout for $2. And the book cost me $2.50. And I brought that home and I took it to my shop teacher and I asked him, I said, listen, I would like to carve this for a project, for a grade. Would you be willing to do that? He said, yes. And I carved on that Missouri Mule for a whole semester. And at that time, and that book is still available today, there was only like 2 or 3 pictures in that. And nowadays you have pictures galore in every type of magazine and books there are. But I finally got done with that. And I presented it to him, and I laid it on his desk, and he picked it up, and he looked at it, and he looked at it. He kept turning it around in every which way. And he set it down on his desk, and he looked at me straight in the face, and he said, Van, that's the most ugliest looking possum I ever saw. And it took me back for a little bit. But he started to grin a little bit. He goes, this is not too bad for your first one, but let me show you a few things that could help you. So yes, he was poking fun a little bit, but he was being honest too. Hey, there's some areas you could work. But yeah, family and friends, they do have a tendency, to lean forward and say, hey, this is nice, and sometimes in your heart it's not, you think that. But, and then, again, when you're critiquing someone else's work, be nice and be kind, be positive about it, but also to critique it and help them to where they can become better carvers. Now, Mike Shipley one time told me a story. He said it just about ruined me. He went down to a particular carving place and he showed his work to a carver that had been carving, 25, 30, 40 years. And he just literally went all over that carving and just belittled it. And he went home defeated. He thought, I was done. But he says, when I got home, he says, you know what? I like this piece. I don't care what that guy thinks. And he said, and you know what? He kept on doing it. And Mike still is, and a wonderful carver and a tool maker. And so, yeah, you're going to have people like that. Do you ever glue pieces back on broke? Yes, I just did the other day. I had a snowman that took a dive off the shelf. I was trying to get a rough out off the shelf, and he took a dive and broke part of his hat, and yes, I glued it back on. Absolutely. You'll have to address the glue issue there and get as much of that glue off as you can, but yes, you can. It doesn't hurt it a bit. Well, thank you. I appreciate. I don't know about my wealth of knowledge, but I enjoy what I do, and this is all of 40 years of making chips, and I still got a long. I hope I can get to do this 40 more years. I don't know if that's right or not, but anyway, we're gonna enjoy doing it until we can't. And so, wow, we've got how many minutes? 2 minutes left. Is that right? And okay, but anyway, we're just looking forward to being a better instructor on YouTube here. And so again, always appreciate your suggestions, and no matter what. Now here, you can make you a mustache here and bring it down. Okay, and so also just again use any type of pencil here to draw in these features that gives you guidelines. And all these are guidelines, all right? All right, we have Andrea. Thank you, Andrea. My goodness, that's very generous of you. Thank you for that $10. My goodness, thank you so much. I do appreciate that. You didn't have to do it, but I thank you. Thank you so much. Hi, Gene. We'll look forward to seeing you in August. I think if that's the Gene who I think of out of Springfield, we'll look forward to seeing you there also. And thank you for being a faithful attendee to our seminar there at Norwood. all these years, you and John. So now we'll just take a V-tool here, and we're going to separate that mustache a little bit. Now you can do this with a knife if you'd like, and but this again, just, and you can take that there and make your stop cuts on this side here, in between the mustaches here, and relieve that inside there. And here's another thing too. I've heard people say, well, I just don't use rough outs because you really can't change them up. Oh yes you can. You can take that rough out. Some of you may not have access to a bandsaw. You may live in an apartment, where they don't allow you to have things like that. And so rough outs are a good way to get you started in carving, and that way you don't have to use a power tool unless you're a power carver. But that's another good way. That's why rough outs are, I think, a great way of getting people in carving, because you'll see the features there on that piece of wood. Because some people, there's been times where I could not see what that's going to be. But if you take away the waste and all the hard part of it, then you can get in here and have fun and creating your expressions on your rough out the way you would like. And so, again, I took a class from a guy years ago. He strictly did not want to use rough outs. He used bandsaw cutouts, and that's fine. But he was one of those guys that this was not a good way to do it, but it is. Rough outs are a good way for people who may not have access to a bandsaw. And plus, it helps me with gets my creative juices going to come up with something new. That is a challenge to come up with a new project. Whether be characters or relief carving or whatever. But anyway, we're trying and we're having fun, and that's what counts. All right, let's see. Where can we buy rough outs? Why, I know of a good place, vankellycarvings.com. It's a good place, and we've got over 100 and some rough outs that you can look at, and we're trying to put on more. At least I try to put on at least 2 or 3 a year, sometimes more. It depends on how things go. But again, that's my address there on the web at vankellycarvings.com, and also too we have classes available and things like that there on the website. All right, so now when you have a mustache like this here, you want to come in here. If you want, you can put a little mouth right there using your V-tool, and just put that indication. You don't have to go in a lot of detail there that you're showing a mouth. Just show that there's just a little lip there or a little mouth. And just come in here and put in your bottom eyelids. That way this guy can blink. And we've enjoyed being with you today, and I hope that you've had fun. Hope it's not wasted your time on a Friday. But anyway, but that kind of gives you an idea of another facial expression you could do. Just like this expressions here on this stick here, we started here with a toothy grin, and here's kind of a woolly looking character here, and there's kind of some of you may have seen this guy. He's an angry look on the YouTube channel there. And here's one, he's really got his mouth open, his teeth showing, and just another guy with a mustache and lots of hair going on there. So again, it's just, here's another simple hillbilly. His name is Applejack, and he's a lot of fun to do. That's a good beginner project there. And snowmen and bears are good beginner projects. That's a very good way of doing it. Also too, I couldn't do this without Vision Films. I want to give a shout out to him, Daniel. He does an excellent job. I hope he don't kill me for that. But he does an excellent job. He's the guy that makes all this look so good. And so I give a shout out to him. I couldn't do it without him, let me tell you. And wouldn't begin to know that he's the guru of all this. And so I give him a lot of credit for this. And I want to do that publicly today. And I know you all have commented the great camera work It's not me. So, but again, we're working together as a team, and I enjoyed working with him. And so now we're going to put in the eyebrows here. And again, you know, if something tears, you know, just carve it off and start over. You know, don't get all wound up if it just don't turn out right the first time. Because it's all about practicing. All we are is practicing for the next best carving. You know, we're hopefully, well, the next one will be better. So just have a goal, set a goal in carving. You know, I'm going to carve 15, 20 minutes a day. No matter it comes sunshine or rain, I'm going to carve. And if you possibly can. And again, address, keep your tools in good shape. And buff them every 20, 30 minutes. Now, of course, I can't do that today because I'm not at the shop, but we're here at the studios of Vision Films. And so, but anyway, so Peter Engler said too, and I know I'm kind of bouncing all over, but when you're carving hair, you know, you are carving locks of hair, and you don't see every hair in a carving. And so, but anyway, I think we probably ought to wind things down for our first one, a live stream. And I want to say thank you to all of you. And I'll read a couple of comments here as we're closing out here today. Can you repeat the website of the Roughouts? Really enjoy your videos. I learned a lot. Yeah, it's vankellycarvings.com. vankellycarvings.com. It's in the comment section just about 4 or 5 above you there. And I used to watch Doug because I thought the wood was soft. It turns out that his knives were sharper. That's true. Absolutely. And I hope that you'll continue to watch Doug, but watch me also. But yes, sharp, sharp, sharp tools. It doesn't matter if you're working in sassafras. Right now I'm working on a piece of sassafras, a wood spirit, and you got to have sharp tools. It's found wood. It's a piece of driftwood I found out in the field. And so I use sassafras a lot. It's good wood. You know, if you don't have basswood, there's you know, sassafras, there's catawba wood, you know, there's pine, soft pine, sugar pine, different woods out there you can just try. You might find something that you particularly like, and so just stick with it there. But basswood is I would say 99% of the time is the wood carver's favorite wood. It is mine. And but again, there's butternut also out there available. But you know, there was a disease or a bug that got into the butternut family, and it's kind of put a lot of little holes all the way through those termites, or what you want to call them. It kind of put devastated the butternut industry. But anyway, still you can carve on that. And but again, I want to say thank you all for joining us today. And we'll try to do another one here down the road. We'll put word out about that. Again, thank you for joining us. This means so much. The kind words and response today that I've seen. And again, folks, happy carving. Keep your tools buffed, and we'll see you real soon.